Mommy. Welcome to Nighty Night Stories. Today, we're going to hear a wonderful bedtime story. Are you ready? Let's get started.
The Little Lighthouse's Secret. On the edge of a quaint seaside village, there stood an old lighthouse. Its bright, guiding light had helped countless ships find their way home during foggy nights and stormy seas. But this lighthouse, named Beacon, wasn't just an ordinary tower of bricks and beams. Beacon had a secret, a magical one that only a few knew. Every night when the moon was high and the stars dotted the sky like tiny diamonds, Beacon would quietly whisper to the ocean waves, sharing stories of the world beyond. The waves would giggle in reply, keeping Beacon's secrets safe beneath the surface of the sea. One breezy evening, a young girl named Mia sat by the shore, her toes buried in the cool sand. Mia loved the lighthouse and often imagined what it would be like to be up in the tower, so high above everything else. But tonight, she noticed something different. Beacon's light was flickering, not with its usual steady beam but with a soft, rhythmic pulsing, almost as if it were trying to speak. Mia's curiosity got the best of her. She tiptoed closer to the lighthouse, her heart racing with excitement. She carefully climbed the spiral staircase, each step echoing softly until she reached the top. As she peeked into the lantern room, she saw something that made her gasp. Beacon's light was not just flickering, it was glowing with a warm, golden hue, and there was a faint, melodious hum in the air. "Hello?" Mia called out timidly. To her surprise, the light responded with a gentle shimmer. "Welcome, Mia," the light whispered in a voice as soft as a sea breeze. "I've been waiting for someone with a brave heart and a curious mind." Mia blinked in astonishment. You can talk?" Beacon's light twinkled with joy. "Indeed, I can. I am Beacon, the guardian of the sea and keeper of secrets. But my magic is fading, and I need your help." Mia's eyes widened. "What kind of help?" Beacon explained that its light was powered not just by the old mechanisms of the lighthouse but by a magical gem hidden deep within the tower's base. The gem, called the Heart of the Sea, had been glowing for centuries, drawing its power from the moonlight. But recently, the gem had been losing its glow, and without it, Beacon feared it would no longer be able to guide ships safely. "The heart needs to be renewed," Beacon said softly. "Only a true friend of the sea can help restore its light." Mia nodded determinedly. "I'll help. But how do we do it?" Beacon instructed Mia to find a hidden door at the base of the lighthouse that led to an underwater cave where the heart of the sea rested. Mia, fueled by her sense of adventure, hurried down the stairs, guided by the lighthouse's soft glow. When she reached the base, Mia found the hidden door just as Beacon had described. She pushed it open and found herself at the entrance of a sparkling cave, filled with soft blue light that danced off the walls. At the center of the cave, resting on a pedestal made of seashells and coral, was the heart of the sea. But it was dim, flickering faintly like a dying ember. Mia carefully approached the gem, her reflection shimmering on its surface. Beacon's voice echoed in her mind, reminding her of the light and hope the heart had brought to countless sailors. She closed her eyes, placing her hands gently on the gem. I wish for you to shine bright again, she whispered, thinking of all the stories Beacon had told the sea, of the adventures yet to be had, and the lives that needed guiding light. Suddenly, a warm glow began to spread from the gem. It pulsed with renewed energy, and the entire cave lit up with a brilliance that was almost blinding. The heart of the sea was alive once more, its light reflecting the magic of the ocean's depths and the moon's gentle glow. Nia carefully carried the heart back to the lighthouse and placed it back in its hidden chamber. Beacon's light grew brighter than ever, illuminating the night sky with a steady, warm beam that reached far across the waves. You did it, Nia, Beacon whispered gratefully. Because of you, I can continue to watch over the sea and share its stories. Nia smiled, feeling a sense of pride and wonder. From that day on, she often visited the lighthouse, knowing its secret and feeling a deep connection to the magical light that had guided so many. And every time Beacon's light shone brightly, it wasn't just guiding ships, it was also telling Nia that the magic of the sea was never far away, waiting to be discovered again and again. The Wandering Cloud. High above the world, where the sky stretched endlessly in every direction, lived a little cloud named Nimbus. Unlike the other clouds that floated lazily from one horizon to the next, Nimbus was different. While most clouds were content drifting with the wind, Nimbus had a heart full of adventure. He wanted to see the world, visit new places, and meet all kinds of creatures below. One breezy morning, Nimbus decided he wouldn't follow the other clouds like usual. Instead, he let a strong gust of wind carry him wherever it wanted to go. He twirled and spun, laughing as the wind playfully pushed him along. Soon, Nimbus found himself floating far from home, above a green valley dotted with trees and rivers. As Nimbus drifted lower, he spotted a small village nestled in the valley. The villagers were busy with their daily routines, but what caught Nimbus's attention was a little boy sitting alone under a tree, staring up at the sky. Curious, Nimbus floated closer. The boy's name was Leo, and he looked sad. His kite had gotten stuck in a tall tree, and he didn't know how to get it down. Nimbus puffed himself up and drifted over the tree, shading it with his soft, fluffy form. Then, with a gentle puff of air, he sent a cool breeze that shook the branches just enough for the kite to fall safely into Leo's hands. Leo beamed with joy, waving up at Nimbus. "Thank you, little cloud," he called, and Nimbus smiled to himself. It felt good to help. Encouraged by his first act of kindness, Nimbus continued his journey. He floated over forests, rivers, and mountains, meeting all sorts of creatures along the way. In a meadow, he gently watered the flowers that were thirsty for rain. In a desert, he cast a shadow over a tired traveler, giving him relief from the scorching sun. And in a dense forest, Nimbus cooled the air for animals seeking refuge from the heat. As Nimbus wandered from place to place, he realized that being a cloud wasn't just about drifting along aimlessly. He could make a difference, bringing comfort and help wherever he went. But as much as Nimbus enjoyed his travels, he sometimes felt a little lonely. He missed his fellow clouds and the familiar skies of home. One evening, as the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, Nimbus sighed. The world was beautiful, but something was missing. Suddenly, a voice called out to him from above. "Nimbus, where have you been?" It was Cirrus, a wispy cloud who had been his friend for as long as he could remember. "I've been exploring," Nimbus replied excitedly. "I've seen so many places and helped so many creatures. But I miss home." Cirrus floated down beside him, wrapping Nimbus in a soft, cloudy embrace. "The world is a big place, and it's wonderful that you've seen so much of it. But home is where your heart belongs, and we've all missed you." Nimbus smiled, feeling a warmth in his fluffy form. "I guess I've learned that you can go on adventures and help others, but it's always nice to come back to where you belong." With Cirrus by his side, Nimbus began the journey back to the skies he knew so well. But this time, he wasn't sad about leaving his adventures behind. He knew that the world was always out there, full of places to see and people to help, whenever he was ready to wander again. As they floated higher, the stars began to twinkle, and Nimbus felt at peace. He had found a balance between his love for adventure and the comfort of home, and he knew that no matter where he drifted, he would always carry the lessons he learned with him. The wind whispered softly in his ear, and Nimbus closed his eyes, ready for the next journey, wherever it might take him. The Invisible Paintbrush. In a little town nestled between rolling hills and sparkling rivers, there lived a young artist named Eliza. She was known far and wide for her beautiful paintings, which brought the town's colorful gardens, tall trees, and bustling markets to life on canvas. But despite her talent, Eliza always felt like something was missing from her art, something magical. One sunny morning, as Eliza was sketching by the river, an old man with a long gray beard approached her. He had twinkling eyes and a gentle smile. "You have a gift, young one," he said, peering at her half-finished painting. "But I see you're searching for something more." Eliza nodded. "I want my art to capture not just what we see, but what we feel. I want to paint the magic that lies beneath the surface of the world." The old man chuckled softly. "Then perhaps I can help." He reached into his cloak and pulled out a simple-looking paintbrush. It was old and worn, with bristles that seemed to shimmer faintly in the sunlight. "This is no ordinary brush," he explained. "It's invisible to everyone but the artist who wields it. With it, you can paint the unseen magic of the world." Eliza stared at the paintbrush, her heart racing with excitement. She reached out and took it carefully. "Thank you," she exclaimed. But when she looked up, the old man had vanished as mysteriously as he had appeared. Determined to try out her new brush, Eliza hurried home to her studio. She dipped the invisible paintbrush into her paints, though she wasn't sure what would happen. At first, it seemed like nothing was different. But as she began to paint, strange and wonderful things started to appear on the canvas. She painted a meadow, and as the colors bloomed across the canvas, tiny sparkles of light began to dance in the air. The flowers she painted seemed to sway gently, even though there was no breeze. When she painted the sky, soft golden beams of sunlight shimmered with a warm glow that made the whole room feel brighter. And when she painted the river, its waters sparkled like diamonds, flowing with a gentle hum that Eliza could almost hear. The magic of the paintbrush didn't just bring her paintings to life, it revealed the hidden wonders of the world. Eliza painted all day, and by evening, her studio was filled with paintings that glowed with an enchanting light. Each one captured not just the beauty of the town, but the magic that had always been there, waiting to be seen. News of Eliza's magical paintings spread quickly through the town. People came from all over to see her work, marveling at the way the flowers seemed to bloom, the rivers sparkled, and the skies glowed. But no one could explain how she had done it. One day, a little girl named Sophie came to visit Eliza's studio. She stared in awe at the paintings, her eyes wide with wonder. "How do you make them look so magical?" Sophie asked. Eliza smiled, kneeling down to the girl's height. "The magic was always there," she said gently. "I just needed the right tool to help me see it." Sophie looked up at her, her eyes shining with excitement. "Do you think I could paint magic, too?" Eliza handed Sophie a small canvas and her invisible paintbrush. "You don't need this brush to find magic," she said softly. "Just look closely, with your heart, and you'll see it everywhere." Sophie carefully dipped the brush into the paints and began to create her own masterpiece. As she worked, a smile spread across her face. She didn't need magic to make her painting special, it was already there, in the way she saw the world. From that day on, Eliza shared her paintbrush with anyone who wanted to try. But she always reminded them that the true magic came not from the brush, but from within. The invisible paintbrush had shown her that the world was full of wonders waiting to be revealed, and she would never look at her art, or the world, the same way again. The Sleepy Seahorse. Deep in the heart of the vast, sparkling ocean, there lived a tiny seahorse named Saffron. Saffron had a unique problem. No matter how hard she tried, she could never stay awake for very long. Every time she swam through the coral reefs or drifted along the gentle ocean currents, she would start to feel drowsy, her eyelids growing heavier with every passing wave. Saffron's friends, the playful fish and colorful starfish, loved to explore the ocean all day, but Saffron always had to rest. "Why do I always feel so sleepy?" Saffron wondered one morning as she yawned and blinked at the rising sun filtering through the water. One day, while swimming slowly near a beautiful coral garden, Saffron met a wise old turtle named Tolly. Tolly had traveled far and wide across the oceans and knew the secrets of the sea. "Why are you always so sleepy, little one?" Tolly asked in a slow, gentle voice as she watched Saffron yawn again. "I don't know," Saffron replied with a sigh. "I want to stay awake and have adventures like everyone else, but I just can't help it." Tolly smiled kindly. "Perhaps you are special in a way you haven't realized yet. Sometimes, our sleepiness has a purpose." Curious and hopeful, Saffron decided to listen to Tolly's advice and explore the ocean in a different way. The next time she started to feel sleepy, instead of fighting it, she allowed herself to drift into a gentle nap, her small body floating among the currents. As she slept, something amazing happened. Saffron began to dream. But these weren't just any ordinary dreams. They were magical dreams that allowed her to see hidden wonders of the ocean. She dreamed of mysterious underwater caves, glowing jellyfish that lit up the deep sea like stars, and ancient sunken ships full of sparkling treasure. When she woke up, Saffron realized that her dreams weren't just fantasies, they were guiding her to real places in the ocean that no one else had discovered. The next day, Saffron led her friends to an enchanting coral cave she had seen in her dream, and sure enough, it was just as she had imagined, full of dazzling colors and shimmering fish. Word spread quickly across the ocean about Saffron's amazing ability to dream of secret places, and soon all of the ocean creatures wanted to follow her on her adventures. Even though Saffron still got sleepy easily, she didn't mind anymore. She had learned that her dreams were her special gift, and with them, she could explore the ocean in ways no one else could. Tolly smiled proudly at Saffron as she swam past one day, leading a group of excited sea creatures to a new dream-inspired adventure. See, little one? Sometimes, what we think is a problem turns out to be a gift. Saffron beamed, no longer worried about being the sleepy seahorse. She had discovered that even in her dreams, she could have the greatest adventures of all. The Floating Island. In a quiet little village nestled between tall mountains and a shimmering river, there lived a boy named Oliver. Oliver had always been a dreamer, gazing at the sky and imagining far-off places and fantastic adventures. But the village was a simple one, and not much ever seemed to change, until one strange afternoon. As Oliver lay on the soft grass by the riverbank, he noticed something unusual in the sky. A shadow was passing over the village, but it wasn't from a bird or a cloud. As he squinted against the bright sun, he saw it, a massive island, floating in the sky. The island hovered high above, its surface covered in trees, sparkling waterfalls, and strange, colorful plants that shimmered in the light. The villagers gasped in awe, but no one dared to go near it. Oliver, however, felt a pull in his chest, a sense that the island was calling to him. Determined to discover more, Oliver grabbed his backpack, stuffed it with some bread and water, and ran toward the highest hill on the outskirts of the village. There, hidden behind an ancient tree, was a long-forgotten rope ladder. It stretched up into the clouds, swaying gently as if inviting him to climb. Oliver hesitated for only a moment before grabbing hold of the ladder and pulling himself up. Hand over hand, he climbed higher and higher, the village shrinking below him until it looked like a tiny dot. The wind grew cooler, and soon he found himself breaking through the clouds. At the top of the ladder, Oliver stepped onto the soft, mossy ground of the floating island. It was even more magical than it had appeared from below. The trees were taller than any he had ever seen, with leaves that glittered like silver. Small creatures darted between the branches, some with wings, others glowing softly like lanterns in the dusk. As Oliver walked deeper into the island, he came upon a clearing where a group of animals had gathered. But these weren't ordinary animals. There was a rabbit with shimmering fur, a fox with golden eyes, and even a turtle whose shell seemed to change colors with every step it took. They looked at him curiously, as if expecting him. "Welcome, young traveler," said the fox, its voice smooth like a breeze. "You've come to the floating island. Few have the courage to do so." Oliver was startled but managed to nod. I wanted to see what this place was," he stammered. "How is it floating? How did it get here?" The turtle, moving slowly but purposefully, spoke next. This island has always been here, hidden from most eyes. Only those who believe in its magic can find it. The rabbit, twitching its ears, added, "But there's a problem. The island's magic is fading, and soon it will fall from the sky. We need your help, Oliver." Oliver blinked in surprise. "My help? But how can I help?" The fox stepped forward, its golden eyes glowing warmly. "At the heart of the island lies a secret, a riddle. Only by solving it can the island's magic be restored. Will you help us?" Without hesitation, Oliver nodded. "I'll try," he said, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. The animals led Oliver to the center of the island, where a giant tree stood. Its trunk was twisted and ancient, and at its base was a glowing pool of water. Reflected in the water were not just the sky and clouds, but shimmering letters that formed a riddle. The fox spoke the riddle aloud. "I fly without wings, I cry without eyes. Wherever I go, darkness flies. What am I?" Oliver furrowed his brow, thinking hard. The animals watched him quietly, their eyes filled with hope. Suddenly, it clicked. "A cloud!" Oliver exclaimed. "The answer is a cloud." As soon as the words left his mouth, the ground beneath them trembled. The giant tree began to glow, its branches reaching higher into the sky. The pool of water sparkled brighter than ever, and a soft hum filled the air. "You've done it," the rabbit cheered, hopping up and down. The fox smiled warmly. "The magic has returned, thanks to you." The island seemed to shimmer with new life, its colors brighter and its trees taller. The creatures thanked Oliver, their eyes full of gratitude. "It's time for you to go back," the turtle said kindly. "But know this, whenever you look to the sky, remember that magic is always within reach." Oliver smiled, feeling a warmth in his chest. He waved goodbye to his new friends, then made his way back to the rope ladder. As he descended back to the village, he looked up one last time. The floating island was still there, now glowing softly in the fading light of the day. And though the villagers didn't know it, Oliver carried a secret with him, the knowledge that magic, true magic, was real. From that day on, whenever Oliver gazed at the sky, he knew that adventures awaited, not just on the ground, but high above, where islands floated and riddles unlocked the mysteries of the world. The Clockmaker's Garden. In the heart of a small, peaceful town, there was a quaint little clock shop owned by a man named Mr. Talk. Mr. Talk wasn't just an ordinary clockmaker, he was a master of time, known for crafting the most intricate clocks that kept perfect time. But what most people didn't know was that behind his shop, hidden by ivy-covered walls, lay a magical garden, a garden that was unlike any other. Mr. Talk's garden was filled with plants that bloomed and swayed in rhythm with the ticking of his clocks. Flowers opened with the chime of every hour, leaves rustled in sync with the seconds, and vines curled around sundials as if time itself was guiding them. It was a secret that Mr. Talk had kept for years, until one day, a curious visitor stumbled upon the garden. Her name was Lily, a bright-eyed girl with an unending sense of wonder. She had always been fascinated by clocks, and she loved to watch Mr. Talk work through the window of his shop. One afternoon, after finishing an errand for her mother, Lily noticed a soft, rhythmic hum coming from the back of the shop. Intrigued, she followed the sound and discovered the entrance to the garden. As she stepped inside, her eyes widened in awe. The garden was alive with the gentle ticking and chiming of time itself. Every plant seemed to be moving to its own rhythm, but together, they created a harmonious melody that was soothing and magical. Lily wandered deeper into the garden, marveling at the time-keeping plants. She watched as a row of sunflowers turned their heads in unison with the turning of a nearby clock, and she smiled as the soft breeze made the flowers sway like pendulums. The garden felt timeless, as though she had stepped into a place where time flowed differently. Suddenly, she heard a voice behind her. "Ah, I see you've found my little secret." Lily turned to see Mr. Tock standing at the entrance, a gentle smile on his face. "This garden, it's amazing!" Lily exclaimed. "How did you create it?" Mr. Tock chuckled. "It wasn't me who created it. The garden has always been here, hidden away, growing in harmony with time itself. I merely tend to it, making sure everything runs like clockwork." Lily's eyes sparkled with curiosity. "Can you teach me how to take care of it?" Mr. Tock nodded. "Of course, but it's not just about tending the plants. You must understand the rhythm of time, the way it flows, the way it ticks, and the way it shapes everything around us." And so, Mr. Tock began to teach Lily the secrets of the garden. He showed her how to wind the delicate stems of the ticking vines, how to prune the petals of the hourly blooms, and how to listen to the soft hum of the garden's heartbeat. Lily quickly learned that each plant had its own rhythm, and that by tending to the garden, she was helping to keep time in balance. As the days passed, Lily spent more and more time in the garden, learning its rhythms and understanding the delicate balance between nature and time. The garden seemed to glow with a special magic when she was there, and even Mr. Tock noticed how the plants responded to her care. One evening, as the sun set and the clocks in the shop chimed softly, Mr. Tock approached Lily with a gift. It was a small, delicate pocket watch, its face adorned with tiny flowers and leaves. "This is for you," he said. "A reminder of the time we've shared here, and of the magic that lives in every second." Lily accepted the watch with a grateful smile. She knew that the garden would always be a special place for her, a place where time stood still and magic bloomed with every tick of the clock. From that day on, Lily and Mr. Tock continued to care for the garden together, ensuring that time flowed smoothly in their little corner of the world. And whenever Lily looked at her pocket watch, she was reminded that time was not just something to be counted, it was something to be cherished, shared, and appreciated in every moment. The Star-Catching Net. In a small, quiet village, nestled between rolling hills and a sparkling river, there lived a young girl named Alara. She had always been fascinated by the stars that twinkled high above every night. She would spend hours lying in the grass, staring up at the sky, dreaming of reaching out and touching them. But no matter how hard she wished, the stars always seemed so far away. One evening, as Alara sat by the river, watching the stars' reflections dance on the water, she noticed something strange. A flicker of light was moving through the sky, not a shooting star, but something else. Curiosity tugged at her, and she followed the light with her eyes until it floated down toward her, gently landing in the soft grass beside her. It was a small, glowing orb, no bigger than a marble. As Alara picked it up, she felt a warmth spread through her hand. The orb shimmered, and then, as if in response to her touch, a tiny voice spoke. "Greetings, Star Dreamer," the voice said softly. "I am Lyra, a keeper of the stars." Alara blinked in surprise. "A keeper of the stars? But stars don't need keepers, do they?" Lyra chuckled, a sound like the tinkling of wind chimes. "Oh, but they do. Stars are very special, and they need someone to help guide them, especially when they fall from the sky. That's why I've come to you, Alara." "Me?" Alara asked, her heart racing with excitement. "Why me?" "You have a heart full of wonder," Lyra said. "And that makes you perfect for this task. I'm here to give you something special, a star-catching net. With it, you can help me gather the stars that lose their way and return them to the sky." Before Alara could reply, Lyra stretched her hands toward the sky, and in a flash of light, a shimmering net appeared in Alara's hands. It was woven from threads of silver starlight, glowing faintly in the night. Alara's eyes widened in awe. "What do I do with it?" "Look," Lyra whispered, pointing toward the horizon. "There's a star, falling just beyond the hills. Use the net to catch it before it fades away." With her heart pounding, Alara raced up the hill, the star-catching net clutched tightly in her hands. She could see the star now, a brilliant streak of light arcing through the sky. As it began to dip lower, Alara swung the net into the air, catching the star just before it touched the ground. The moment the star touched the net, it glowed even brighter, and Alara felt a sense of joy she had never known. Carefully, she held the star close, feeling its warmth radiate through her. "Well done," Lyra's voice said softly from behind her. "You've saved that star. Now, let's send it back where it belongs." With Lyra's guidance, Alara released the star back into the sky, watching in awe as it twinkled brightly and rejoined the others. That night marked the beginning of many adventures for Alara. Every evening, she would take her star-catching net and venture into the fields, helping Lyra guide lost stars back to their rightful place in the heavens. With each star she caught, Alara felt a little closer to the sky, her heart full of wonder and magic. And though the stars always seemed so far away, Alara knew that with her net, she could reach them whenever they needed her. The Mysterious Melody. In the heart of a quiet village, surrounded by rolling hills and dense woods, there was a peculiar legend. The villagers spoke in hushed tones about a mysterious melody that could sometimes be heard drifting through the air on the quietest of nights. The music was said to be hauntingly beautiful, but no one knew where it came from or who was playing it. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the sky darkened into a deep indigo, a young boy named Oliver sat on the steps of his home, his ears straining for the familiar sound. Oliver had always been enchanted by the melody, but unlike the other villagers who dismissed it as a mere tale, he was determined to discover its source. As the last rays of sunlight faded, the air around him grew still. And then, like a whisper on the wind, the music began. Soft and sweet, the notes floated through the night air, wrapping around him like a warm embrace. Without thinking, Oliver jumped to his feet, his heart racing with excitement. This time, he wouldn't just listen, he would follow. He grabbed a small lantern and ventured out of the village, into the woods where the melody seemed to beckon him. The trees stood tall and silent, their leaves rustling softly in the breeze, but the music guided him deeper into the forest, far beyond where he had ever gone before. The further he walked, the more enchanting the melody became. It seemed to weave through the trees, slipping in and out of the shadows, as if playing a game with him. Oliver couldn't help but smile. The music felt like it was leading him on a secret adventure. After what felt like hours of walking, Oliver came upon a clearing bathed in silver moonlight. At the center stood a small, sparkling pond, and beside it sat a figure, hunched over a strange, glimmering instrument. The music was coming from this person, their fingers moving gracefully over the strings of what appeared to be a harp made of light itself. Oliver gasped softly, not wanting to disturb the musician. But the figure turned, revealing an old woman with kind, wise eyes that sparkled like stars. "I've been expecting you, Oliver," she said, her voice soft and melodic, much like the tune she had been playing. "How do you know my name?" Oliver asked, stepping closer but still keeping a respectful distance. The woman smiled gently. "I've known every child who has followed the melody. Few have been brave enough to seek it out, but those who do are always welcome here." Oliver's curiosity got the better of him. "What is this place? And why do you play that song?" The woman gestured to the pond, where the surface rippled gently under the moonlight. "This is the Heartwood Clearing. It is a place of magic and music, hidden from the world except for those who truly believe. The melody you hear is the song of the forest, the voice of the trees, the whisper of the wind. I simply help it find its way." Oliver sat beside her, mesmerized by her words. "But why me? Why was I able to find it?" "You have a heart that listens," the woman said kindly. "Not everyone does. Many hear the song but dismiss it as a dream. You, however, heard its call and answered. That is a rare gift." For a moment, Oliver sat in silence, watching the way the moonlight danced on the water's surface. The music continued to play, soft and soothing, filling him with a sense of peace he had never felt before. "Can I learn to play the melody too?" Oliver asked eagerly. The woman's eyes twinkled. "Perhaps one day, if you truly wish to. But for now, the forest simply wishes for you to listen." Oliver nodded, closing his eyes as the melody wrapped around him like a comforting blanket. The night seemed to stretch on forever, the music filling every corner of his soul, making him feel as though he was a part of something ancient and magical. When he finally opened his eyes again, the woman and her glowing harp were gone. The clearing was empty, save for the pond, which now shimmered even more brightly in the moonlight. But Oliver wasn't disappointed. He knew, deep in his heart, that the melody would always be with him, guiding him, reminding him of the magic hidden in the world around him. From that night on, Oliver never missed a chance to sit outside when the air was still and the moon was full, hoping to hear the mysterious melody once more. And though he never found the heartwood clearing again, the music stayed with him, a secret song shared between him and the whispering trees. The Curious Carousel. In the heart of a small, cozy town, there was a magical amusement park that children adored. But of all the wonders in the park, the most enchanting was the old carousel. It wasn't like any other carousel. This one had beautifully crafted animals instead of the usual horses. From a majestic lion to a graceful swan, each animal was adorned with jewels that sparkled under the twinkling lights. But there was something special about the carousel that no one knew. Every night, when the park was empty and the stars shone brightly overhead, the animals would come to life. They would stretch, yawn, and leap off their platforms, roaming the park in the moonlight, each one eager to explore the world beyond the carousel. One evening, as the last child left the park and the moon climbed into the sky, the carousel animals began their nightly routine. But this night was different. As they sprang into action, they noticed a small figure sitting on one of the benches nearby. It was a little girl named Lily, who had stayed behind, captivated by the beauty of the carousel. The lion, who was the leader of the carousel animals, approached Lily cautiously. "Hello," he said in a deep, gentle voice. "You're still here?" Lily's eyes widened in surprise, but she wasn't scared. "You can talk," she whispered in awe. The lion smiled. "Yes, we can, but only at night when the park is quiet." "What are you doing here so late?" "I didn't want to leave," Lily admitted. "The carousel is so beautiful, and I felt like it had a secret. I wanted to know more." The animals gathered around her, intrigued by the curious girl. The swan, with its long, elegant neck, swam gracefully in the air, circling Lily. "You're the first to ever stay and see us like this," the swan said softly. The elephant, with its large, kind eyes, trumpeted quietly. "Perhaps it's time we share our secret." The lion nodded in agreement. "Every night, we come to life and explore the park. But we've always dreamed of seeing the world beyond these gates. We long to experience the forests, the mountains, the oceans. But we can't leave the carousel unless a human wishes it for us." Lily's heart swelled with excitement. "I wish for you to see the world," she exclaimed. In an instant, a golden glow surrounded the carousel animals. One by one, they felt a newfound freedom, no longer bound to the park. The lion roared joyfully, the swan soared higher than ever before, and the elephant danced in delight. Together, with Lily leading the way, they ventured beyond the park, ready to explore the wonders of the world. They traveled through forests where the trees whispered ancient secrets, across rivers that sparkled like diamonds under the moonlight, and over mountains that touched the sky. Everywhere they went, the carousel animals marveled at the beauty and magic of the world. As the night wore on, Lily and her magical friends returned to the park. Though their adventure had come to an end, they knew they would always have each other and the memories they had made. "Thank you, Lily," the lion said as he stepped back onto the carousel. "You've given us the greatest gift of all." Lily smiled, her heart full of joy. "I'll never forget this night," she whispered, waving goodbye to her new friends. As the first light of dawn began to creep over the horizon, the carousel animals returned to their platforms, their secret safe once more. But every time Lily visited the park, she knew that somewhere deep inside, the carousel animals were still dreaming of their next great adventure. The Moonlit Forest. Deep within a vast and ancient forest, there was a place where the trees whispered secrets, and the night came alive with magic. This was the Moonlit Forest, a mystical wood where the moon's glow painted everything with a silvery hue. The forest had stood for centuries, untouched by time, and was known only to a few who were lucky enough to stumble upon it. One such visitor was a young boy named Oliver. One night, while camping with his family near the edge of the forest, Oliver woke up to a strange, shimmering light filtering through the trees. His curiosity piqued, he quietly slipped out of his tent and followed the light deeper into the woods. As he ventured farther, the forest seemed to welcome him, the branches parting gently, and the path ahead glowing faintly under the moonlight. Oliver had heard stories of the Moonlit Forest from his grandmother, who used to tell him tales of magical creatures that lived there, but he never believed it could be real. Suddenly, the trees opened up to reveal a breathtaking clearing. The moon hung low in the sky, casting a brilliant light over everything. In the center of the clearing was an enormous, ancient oak tree. Its bark sparkled with what looked like stardust, and hanging from its branches were glowing, delicate lanterns. As Oliver gazed in awe, he realized the lanterns were not ordinary lights. They were enchanted fireflies, dancing around the tree like tiny stars. But that wasn't all. Beneath the tree, in the soft grass, lay a sleeping white deer. Its coat shimmered under the moon's glow, making it look almost translucent. This was the guardian of the Moonlit Forest, a creature spoken of in legends. Oliver had never imagined he would actually see it. As he watched, the deer slowly opened its eyes, its gaze meeting Oliver's. For a moment, they stood there, staring at each other in silence. Then, without making a sound, the deer nodded, and Oliver felt a warm, comforting sensation wash over him, as if the forest had accepted him as one of its own. Oliver spent what felt like hours exploring the moonlit clearing, discovering hidden wonders, a pool of water that reflected the stars perfectly, even though no stars were visible in the sky, and flowers that bloomed only under the moonlight, their petals glowing faintly. He even heard the soft melody of the wind as it played through the leaves, a song known only to the forest. Finally, the sky began to lighten, signaling the approach of dawn. Oliver knew it was time to return. As he turned to leave, the white deer stood and gracefully walked up to him, bowing its head in farewell. Oliver reached out and gently touched its shimmering fur, feeling the magic beneath his fingertips. "I'll be back," he whispered, knowing that the Moonlit Forest would always be there, waiting for him. With one last glance at the glowing forest, Oliver made his way back to the campsite, the moon's light fading as the sun began to rise. As he crawled back into his sleeping bag, he couldn't help but smile, knowing that the magical world of the Moonlit Forest was now a part of him forever. It looks like our little one has already drifted off to dreamland. May your dreams be filled with joy and adventure.